Smokers are already losing the right to smoke indoors, now outdoors too. The burning question, a matter of health or your personal freedom. Get close, get answers on NBC Nightly News tomorrow.
Channel 5 WMAQ TV Chicago. Now live from the NBC Tower, this is the Channel 5 News at 6.
His name is Silas Jane. He was a notorious horse owner who was in trouble with the law for much of his life. And tonight there are new clues that he is at the center of a new investigation. Good evening to you. I'm Mark Sapelsa.
And Ron Majors is off tonight. I'm Joan Esposito. Tonight, Channel 5 News has learned that the investigation into the disappearance and murder of Candy heiress Helen Brock is expanding. Sources close to the investigation say prosecutors are developing information that could lead to charges in at least 5 unsolved murders and several cases of arson. And we've learned the investigation centers around Silas Jane. Marianne Ahern is live in the newsroom with details. Marianne?
Joan, although he is not cooperating with the government yet, Richard Bailey may not like the prospect of spending the rest of his life in jail. At least that's what investigators are hoping. And if Bailey isn't talking, others apparently are. And that's why the federal government is so hopeful. The indictments released last week are just the tip of the iceberg. The indictments released last week by the federal government are just the beginning of a wide-ranging probe of the horse industry. While attention is now focusing on Richard Bailey, who has been indicted for hiring someone to kill Candy heiress Helen Brock, Channel 5 News has learned the investigation is branching out to include a number of unsolved murders. Sources close to the investigation say the government is hoping arrests will be made in at least 5 unsolved murder cases, as well as several arson cases. Some date back almost 40 years. The 5 unsolved murder cases include the Schuessler-Peterson murders, the Indiana Dunes beach disappearance of 3 Chicago area women, Sherry Rudy's car bombing death, the Grimes sisters' death, and the murder of 2 Chicago area police officers. Sources say there have long been allegations connecting Silas Jane or his horse stables to these unsolved murders. Jane, who is now dead, was Richard Bailey's business partner at one time and considered the head of the Chicago area horse industry. Jane also served time in jail in connection with his brother's murder, and while serving that jail time was suspected of plotting a Wisconsin arson that left 35 show horses dead. In the Schuessler-Peterson case, 3 teenage boys, 2 brothers and a friend were found in a forest preserve strangled. Investigators hope to gather enough evidence now to somehow link that case to the horse industry. The government also hopes it will clear up a number of fires at horse stables in the Midwest. There is no statute of limitations on federal charges of arson, and investigators hope to clear up several fires, some dating back 30 years, that have gone unsolved. Live in the newsroom, Marianne Ahern, Channel 5 News.
Thanks, Marianne.
Richard Bailey isn't going anywhere soon. Today, a federal judge ordered him held without bond, saying Bailey is a flight risk. During the court hearing, Bailey's ex-wife said she was willing to take Bailey in if he were freed on bond. Dr. Annette Hoffman says, despite her belief that Bailey lied to her at every turn, she doesn't think she was used by him.
Well, it's possible, but it's still not definite. I mean, I think everybody must have a little bit of good in him, and maybe there was something in me that he saw as different. He absolutely never did anything wrong with me.
Their marriage was annulled after 10 days. Bailey will be arraigned before a federal judge tomorrow.
There may be a problem getting car work done tomorrow. Union mechanics at Chicago's auto dealers say they will strike at 7 a.m. Their contract with the dealers expired last night. They've already been striking Cadillac dealers for a couple of weeks. Channel 5's Kevin McCarty has the latest live from the north side. Kevin?
And Joan, these are the mechanics who work for new and used automobile dealerships. They do that certified work on a new car that you buy. Thousands of them will walk off the jobs tomorrow. That will affect hundreds of dealerships. And this is the eve of the first strike by mechanics in more than 12 years. And both sides are saying they wish it didn't have to be like this.
I don't think anybody wins in a strike, but the dealers seem to be so far away from what we really need, you know, for the job.
Jim Stroger and Bill Taylor are among the 2,700 mechanics that won't be going to work tomorrow. They'll be walking a picket line outside of Joe Perillo Pontiac and more than 200 other automobile dealerships in the Chicago area. The strike, called by Automobile Mechanics Local Number 701, focuses on a number of issues, but primarily it's about wages and health care benefits.
These are incentive mechanics. They get paid for the jobs they perform, and they're paid by the manufacturer's allowed times. However, with the technology nowadays, many hours are spent trying to diagnose a car.
As far as the pay in general goes, I feel for a skilled trade, the carpenters, electricians, plumbers have been making more and more money each year, and their work actually gets more easier because of the plastic pipe, and there's no more conduit, and their windows and doors all come in cardboard boxes now, whereas our work's getting more and more technical every year.
According to the union, the average auto mechanic who works for a new dealership makes about $18.45 an hour, or about $30,000 to $45,000 per year. What they're looking for is not just an increase in their wage, but a larger contribution to their health care. Jim Hendricks is a negotiator representing more than 220 automobile dealerships.
Well, the dealers are trying to keep their labor costs down to their customers. Presently, the Chicago area automobile dealers have to charge more to their customers than any place else in the country. And they're competing for that customer-paid labor with, obviously, the shops that are not union. They're trying to hold down the increased costs. That's what this is about.
Where would you say the two sides are at this point?
Far apart.
That could be bad news if you back to the dealership to get work done. In 1981, there was a strike by the auto mechanic that lasted about 5 weeks, but a strike in 1975 lasted 6 months. Reporting live from Lincoln Park, Kevin McCarty, Channel 5 News.
Thanks, Kevin.
The story isn't clear yet, but a motorcyclist died in an accident in Archer and Laramie this afternoon. There are reports the cyclist was going at least 100 miles per hour. The victim's identity has not been released, nor why he was traveling that fast. A crew of heroes rescue a family from a burning house in the city's southwest side. 8 people are hurt, but firefighters say it could have been worse if not for the efforts of neighbors, a gas worker, an off-duty police officer, and a firefighter. They helped 2 adults and a baby to safety, then went inside and rescued 2 boys. 4 of the injured are in critical condition. The cause of that fire not yet known.
Tonight, Stephen Josepho of Des Plaines stands indicted of charges of stalking a young girl. But Josepho, seen here outside court today, claims that key evidence was obtained illegally. Authorities have as evidence 3 letters written by Josepho to the girl. But Josepho's lawyer claims the police allegedly phoned Josepho with a bomb threat as an excuse to get into his home and found incriminating evidence, later coming back with a search warrant.
We'll be presenting a motion on that. We do have witnesses that will be able to substantiate some of the things that we're going to say in that motion, and that's all I want to say about it right now.
Prosecutors say the 3 letters were obtained from the alleged stalking victim, not through a search warrant. They say the letters would remain in evidence even if other items taken from the house are thrown out.
Suburban news tonight. Chicago Heights has a new police chief on duty. Carla Ostanowski, or I should say Ostentowski, becomes the city's first female chief. She plans to make Chicago Heights Police Department, quote, the finest in the south suburbs. And 2 Glenview police officers, along with 4 co-workers, told the court they're not guilty of possession of marijuana. They were charged in Milwaukee. And in East Chicago, Indiana, the man who owns that burning dump says he canceled his fire insurance about 6 months ago, saying it was too expensive.
In the wake of a Unit 5 investigation, Illinois' state treasurer is calling for an end to the practice of issuing free passes to some users on the Illinois tollways. Unit 5 has done several stories over the last few days about how a select group of people have passes that allow them to pass through the tollway checkpoints for free. Under a new proposal by the state treasurer, the only exceptions to the no free pass rule would be for emergency and police vehicles. None of the Tollway Board of Directors would be able to use their passes anymore. But as our Charlie Wojciechowski reports, the system is unlikely to change anytime soon.
If you don't pay, you don't go, unless your name is on a special non-revenue card issued by the Illinois State Toll Highway Authority. Among the lucky card holders discovered by Unit 5, Governor Jim Edgar, who took 249 free trips along the tollway, or State Senator Roger McAuliffe, who zipped through our toll booths 366 times on our 10.
When it comes to politicians and their pals, they can travel free to the tune of almost 1 million tolls in the past year.
State Treasurer Pat Quinn is calling for an end to the free passes.
These are unnecessary deductions from Toll Highway Authority revenues, and it's a symbol, frankly, of a tollway authority that's completely out of touch with the commuters and motorists who have to drive to work and come home from work every day.
As a result of the Unit 5 investigation, authorities here at the Illinois State Toll Highway Authority said they're reviewing the use of the free pass cards. In the meantime, though, those cards are still in use. And according to Tollway Director Ralph Weiner, they're likely to stay in use for the near future, as long as they're used properly. Wayner says the non-revenue cards can only be used for official business. Those who've misused the cards, he says, have never had the rules explained to them.